We're going to talk about mindsets that we find that derail healthy eating and how to transform them. I'm a psychologist by background, right? And so this is a topic that fascinates me. I certainly watched my own mindsets as I was changing. Once I discovered what truly healthy eating looks like and exactly how to do it, specifically how to implement it, it changed my life. But it was really interesting to watch the mindsets that had to change as I went along too. And in the Slender for Good program, my clients and I discussed this a lot. The diet mindset is one of the mindsets that we really have to change. And it sort of starts with, I'm just going to have to eat less to lose weight, and I'm just going to have to be hungry. And this is a very unsustainable approach because your body is actually going to make you hungrier and hungrier as you cut calories, as you eat less. And that is something you can only resist for so long, right? You're having to rely on willpower. And willpower is a very exhaustible resource. It just doesn't hold up for us. So when we talk about weight loss approaches being unsustainable, I used to think that meant, well, we just have to try harder. But no, there are things that are unsustainable in the sense of we're not going to be able to try hard enough to make that work, right? Yeah, I just have to eat less and be hungry is not going to be a sustainable approach. The whole I just have to eat less approach is something, it's this theory that's been around of calories in have to equal calories out, right? So that's one of the principles of thermodynamics. And it's just not really exactly how our bodies work. And doctors kind of know, even dietitians and nutritionists I've talked to kind of know, this doesn't seem to really work. But it tends to come back on us, like, well, if you would just try harder. And I'm totally on a mission to help you realize this is not a matter of you just have to try harder. You need a better approach, a sustainable approach that produces sustainable results, right? I just feel terrible that we keep trying and trying, and the approaches we're using just don't work. So the mindset of I just have to eat less and be hungry for a while is a mindset that's leading us very much astray. It's a terrible guideline. What about this one? I'm just going to deprive myself of my favorite treats for a while, but it's important to keep them in my diet somewhere, to try to have less of that. Again, we're setting ourselves up to have to use willpower. I just have to use more willpower, and that's just not a sustainable strategy. It's not an effective strategy because it doesn't hold up. As soon as you're tired, as soon as you've had a bad day, right, then your willpower isn't there anymore. That's how willpower is. We do not want to have to set ourselves up to use a lot of willpower. It's not that there's no willpower involved, maybe when we're doing healthy eating. But these are my favorite things to eat and drink, but I'm going to resist them with willpower is a very unsustainable approach. So really, in a way, that is the big mindset that has to shift. It has to do with which foods and drinks we value and which we find boring, which we value less, right? So if I go around saying, oh, this piece of cake, so good. Oh, this cocktail is so good. It's the best. You have to try it. And that's really how I went through life in a lot of ways for a long time. The things that I said, this is so good, were only non-nutritious food-like substances that we called treats. As long as I called them treats, as long as I treated them like they were very special, very important, very, very highly valuable, then it was very hard to eat little enough of them that it wouldn't affect my health and my weight. But that's sort of how I grew up. That's how most of us grew up. These are the good things, but just don't have too much of them. So that whole mindset around what do I value in eating and drinking is a mindset that I needed to really intentionally start to shift, right? The cocktails are very, very important. I'm just not going to try. I'm going to try not to have too much. The sweets are very, very important. The snacks are very, very important. I just have to try not to have too much. And you can read a lot about why do those things feel so valuable to us, but it has a lot to do with what it's triggering in our brain, that it's triggering addiction pathways in our brain. So you've heard me talk about this before probably, but we get this big, ooh, that was exciting. You can see it on our face. I remember one of the last times I went to dinner with a group of women and everyone is ordering drinks and I wasn't. I've decided alcohol doesn't belong in my body. It doesn't belong in my life. And it doesn't feel hard, but I just observed during that experience people got a level of excitement about ordering the drinks. And then when the drinks came, there's another level of excitement and there were yummy noises. This is so good, right? And I started feeling a little bit of pull. Ooh, this one was having a kind of red wine that had been a favorite of mine. So I was feeling a little bit of pull towards it. But I have really good reasons why I've decided that doesn't belong in my body, right? I was pre-diabetic. I could barely walk from pain and inflammation. I was 60 pounds overweight. My sleep was terrible. Like there were a lot of things that weren't going well in my body as long as I went for those foods and drinks. So one of the biggest things that we need to change, and it doesn't happen overnight, it doesn't happen by just telling ourselves, but we need to change what we value in food and drink. So now, like, I really look forward to having my salad every day, a giant salad. It's not exactly the same kind of excitement, right? It's not the same kind of, ooh, yum. And that excitement is something I don't want to associate with food and drink anymore. I want to have that kind of excitement with certain things in life, that kind of dopamine hit excitement. But when it comes to food and drink, I don't want that level of excitement. I want pleasure that goes with real, whole, nutritious foods that gives me health, right? Now 65 years old, I care about taking care of my health every day, every meal. It wasn't going well by accident. So the whole mindset around what's good, what's special, etc., is something that I wanted to change. I came up with this Crave the Good process. It's really been helping me and helping my clients really start to crave the things that are good for us and lose the cravings for things that are not good for our body. So this whole idea that these are important, they're treats, they're special. Like for me, special was something that had to happen every day. What does it mean? What does it mean to be special if I'm doing it every day? It was not only every night that I needed to have my special food and drink, but really at the end of breakfast, I want something special, something sweet at the end of this meal. At the end of lunch, I wanted something sweet. Between lunch and dinner, I wanted something special, right? So it was becoming more expensive, more special stuff, but they were all now I see them as cravingful, highly processed, non-nutritious food-like substances. I'm suspicious of the whole response of, it looks like a drug addiction response, and it is very similar. In fact, food and drink can trigger that kind of response even faster than cocaine or heroin or cigarettes. So the whole idea of I just have to eat less. I just have to deprive myself of my favorite treats for a while. These mindsets are keeping us stuck and frustrated. I just have to use willpower, keeping us stuck and frustrated. Here's another mindset that doesn't make any sense to me now, but I used to say it a lot. Like if I eat or drink too much of something I'm not supposed to today, or I'm trying to moderate this, I'm trying not to have too much of this, but I had too much today, I can make up for it tomorrow. Who said that? Who said that works, right? I don't know where there's any proof that we can make up tomorrow for something we do to harm ourselves today. I think the idea that like if I had one alcoholic beverage a year and that's all I did, it probably wouldn't damage me in any kind of way that anybody could measure, that I could see in my life. But it's the kind of food, it's a kind of drink that I don't have just one. I want more, and I want some tomorrow, and I want more sugar tomorrow too. And so it precipitates this whole different approach to eating and drinking that becomes problematic for me. And that actually happens for most of us over time. So I think the idea that if I had this once a year, if I had birthday cake once a year and I didn't have sweets the rest of the year, if I didn't have pastries and I didn't have alcohol, it wouldn't hurt me. It's kind of an easy thing to say, but it's an addictive food or drink. So the idea that I'm going to make up for it tomorrow isn't making any sense. It's not how our bodies work, right? So I'll just exercise more tomorrow. That's not how it works. And there's a lot that we can study showing, yeah, exercising more tomorrow is not going to make up for overeating today. All right, here's another mindset. I'm just dieting, like I'm just on a diet temporarily. Later, when I lose the weight, I'm going to go back and eat all the things I love. Yeah, so temporarily changing our behavior does not lead to lasting results. And something like 99% of the times that we diet, that we try to eat less or exercise more or do some combination of the two, our results are only temporary. But it's partly because we believe I'm just going to change this temporarily. I work with mostly women and some smart men over 50, and we kind of know, like, making temporary changes is not going to lead to lasting results. I'm going to need to make changes that I can stick with, right? So that's another one of those mindsets. And some of these mindsets that don't totally make sense, we can start to catch them and go, wait, what did I just say? Later, I'll go back and eat the things that I'm really missing. So really, once I dug into what are the answers, if I look at this from an evidence-based perspective, what predictable approaches to eating, what predictable guidelines for eating and drinking lead to predictable results for much improved health, like in terms of heart disease and high blood pressure and prediabetes and diabetes and cancer and dementia and weight loss that lasts. Once I dug into what are the answers, what are clear principles that rise to the top, I could see that all of these mindsets that we grew up with about dieting, about eating less, about temporarily making changes, about being able to make up for something I do today by changing what I do tomorrow, these are all revealed as wrong. These aren't good guidelines. They're leading us in a terrible, failed direction. Does that make sense? What mindsets does this trigger for you? What have you observed in your own mindsets where you go, I don't know if that's right? Right? We start to catch ourselves. So there's a lot of mindsets that I've developed that have really helped me and the women and men that I work with to succeed. But before I go into that, if these insights are helpful to you, like the post, right? Comment, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you keep getting content about healthy eating and sustainable weight loss after 50. It's not hard, but it's quite different from what we've been doing. So this idea that one of the most important mindsets we need to shift has to do with what are the foods and drinks we value the most, that we tell ourselves, ooh, this is good. This is really good. I like this. I found a lot of my clients tell me, I thoroughly enjoy eating the nutritious foods. So we just have to catch that. But these non-nutritious things are the really special, exciting things, right? Just catch that and go, wait a minute, I don't want to think that. I don't want to believe that. I want to catch that thought and turn it around, because we can change our thoughts and feelings about these things. It takes a little bit of intention for a while. A lot of my clients say, it's a good thing I have a psychologist helping me with that. Not because anybody thinks they have an eating disorder, but changing how we think and feel about our eating is something that can take a little bit of support and guidance, right? And a little bit of time. But let me share with you some of the mindsets I've developed that really have helped me and the people that I work with. One of the things I caught myself saying all the time was, this doesn't matter. It was part of the whole, I can make up for this tomorrow. This is not a big deal, right? I'm going to have this today, but it's not a big deal. I'll make up for it tomorrow. I don't care. It doesn't matter. So one of the mindsets I started countering with was the mindset that it does matter to my body what I eat and drink. It matters. It always matters. Like if I'm eating or drinking something sweetened or something highly processed, it really matters to the body. My body is going to start coming up with reactions to it. There's going to be things that happen in my brain. There's going to be changes that happen with my hormones. There's going to be changes that happen in my gut. It does matter. So anyway, I catch myself saying, this doesn't matter. This is no big deal. This is just a little bit. It doesn't matter. So I started saying, it does matter. It matters a lot what I choose to put in my body at every meal. I came up with a phrase. It started coming to me. Everything I eat or drink either helps my body or harms my body. Everything I eat or drink. And it was getting me out of that. I don't think this really matters. I don't think this won't hurt anything. There's nothing bad about it. I said that to myself for a very long time. But I had to start accepting you're pre-diabetic. So something is hurting your body. And you know from looking at the research what those things are. And those are the only things I was telling myself. I think a little of this won't hurt anything. I deserve it. It's a special occasion. That only went with things that were harmful. So I started saying everything I eat or drink either helps or harms my body. It matters, right? I started saying to myself, my body thrives when I eat truly highly nutritious foods in abundance. My body needs those foods. It needs them in abundance. It only feels okay. Like my sleep completely transformed, my energy completely transformed, the pain and inflammation in my system completely transformed, right? I was able to go off all these medications, and I get to hear this with people every day. So it makes this huge difference when we eat abundant, highly nutritious foods. I understand it that the body doesn't feel like it needs to store excess fat anymore because it's getting consistent nutrition every day. I believe that's why we just don't store excess fat anymore. Our body needs those foods. The other thing that I've been saying to myself lately is my body thrives when I eat only highly nutritious foods, truly highly nutritious foods, not packaged things with all kinds of packaging arguments that say that they're nutritious, that are like extra high priced, which makes me think they must be good for me, right? So I am looking for only truly highly nutritious foods, and that's what I put into my body, and that's when my body thrives, rather than looking for excuses to incorporate a bit of non-nutritious stuff and call it treats, call it special, right? So I call those things, instead of calling them treats now, which makes me feel sad if I can't have them, I call those things cravingful, highly processed, non-nutritious food-like substances. Shorthand is CHPNNFLS. That is not food to me. That's CHPNNFLS. In some cases, I said to myself, that's not food, that's poison to me. It definitely had that kind of transformative effect in my body when I took this approach. Also, if you've ever gotten to the point where you feel like, I am addicted to this, I can't say no to this. If I start having this, I can't stop. If somebody's offering it to me, I can't say no. Anything you feel that way about, like it's cravingful, I really can't resist it, you'd be better off abstaining altogether, because keeping it in your diet a little bit just makes you want more. That's part of the process of cravings. So those things don't help my body. They are not benign. I'm not going to say they don't matter. I'm not going to say they're a treat. I'm not going to call them that. I'm going to call them out for what they are. They're harmful, and I don't want them in my body. Is this too radical? It helped me. It helped me so much. It's so much easier to resist, to just take them off the table, than have a little and then try to resist, and have a little and then try to resist, because then I'm in this addictive, trying to use willpower to fight kind of state. I know that probably sounds scary, but it turns out to be easier. And I see this with my clients all the time. So I tend to react to those foods with cravings for more. And that is what an excited dopamine response kind of, this is so good. Anything that gives you that kind of reaction it's giving you a big dopamine response, which feels like pleasure, but then instantly turns to a feeling of desire. I want more. So wanting more means the next day, our brain is searching for it. Where is more of that? Where can I get more of that? It seemed like it was important. So our brain gets very tricked into highly valuing the least nutritious stuff. I got mad about it. It helped me to get mad. So what I hear from my clients all the time, and I observed with myself, is when I get really caught up in the highly processed, the things that I want more of, that I feel super excited about, that feel like treats, eating becomes a stressful aspect of life, right? And then weight gain becomes a stressful aspect of life. Now, there's a certain percentage of people who, no matter how much of this stuff they eat, we don't see them gain a lot of weight on the outside. But I've been listening to researchers lately who say they think like at least 90% of us now have fatty liver disease. It's not something that is like as easily measured as some of the other things doctors are measuring, partly because they don't know what to do for it. We would have to change our eating to change that. Doctors kind of know. I don't know how to help people change their eating, right? So, but once I started realizing, I'm scared about making changes to my eating, but I believe I'm headed for the nursing home in the next 5 to 10 years if I don't. So, and I do see that eating has become a stressful aspect of my life, and weight gain has become very stressful, and it's getting in the way of living my best life. So I want to change how I think and feel about this, and I want to change my habits. And it became something that gained so much momentum and got easier and easier and easier. At first there is this kind of, I gotta exert some effort. I gotta really have some intention about this. And that's just true. Anybody that's selling you, here's a pill, here's a shot, here's a surgery, it's gonna change everything for you, I think that ends up being a lie, because our body has ways of fighting back against those force kinds of situations, right? I think there's no shortcut to learning what's actually nutritious for my body. How much of it do I need to eat to get transformative results? And then the other part to learn is, how do I just make it so habitual? How do I just fall in love with eating this way? So I hope this helps you understand a bit of how our mindsets need to change 180 degrees, along with changing our habits 180 degrees. And that starts to become something that becomes easy. So I hope it helps you see how important changing our mindset is as we're embracing truly healthful, slenderful eating. I hope it also gives you a sense of how distorted our environment is. So just because I've heard something every day my whole life, like I can eat whatever I want today and make up for it tomorrow, no matter how many times I've heard that, it doesn't make it true. We live in a very distorted food environment, eating and drinking environment, and we end up very misled to follow terrible approaches that just keep letting us down, that are not sustainable and not healthy. Once your eating approach is clear, like I know exactly how much to eat to get great results, it's very, very clarifying, right? It's very helpful. It's very relieving. I hear from Slender for Good clients all the time. I feel very liberated having this so clear. So once your eating approach is super clear and your mindsets are geared towards success, then finding the practical solutions, well, like somebody this week was telling me, but I really hate cooking. I really hate doing any kind of food preparation. So we start getting into the practical solutions and we can get really stuck. But once your eating approach is super clear, once your mindsets are geared towards success, it's quite easy to find practical solutions to challenges like that, right? So finding your way to the good habits becomes easy with the right mindsets and a clear eating approach. So if this was helpful, please like, please comment, please let me know what mindsets you've noticed that don't help and any mindsets you've noticed that do help. If you'd like to speak with me about how Slender for Good works, I'm going to leave my email in the description. And if you want to keep getting content like this, subscribe, right? So I hope this is helpful. I want to change hearts and minds about what's good to eat. It just becomes so easy as you start to establish these habits. They start to make sense. Your body starts to feel good. Your mind starts to clear up. It gets easier and easier, not harder and harder. All right. All right. Take care.